Genghis Khan, one of the most well-known and influential figures in history, was the founder and leader of the Mongol Empire, which extended from China to Europe and became the largest continental empire in history. His military genius, religious tolerance, and legal code are well documented. However, he was also known as a ruthless conqueror, having killed millions of people, destroyed numerous cities, and enslaved many enemies. In this video, we will explore some of the shocking actions taken by Genghis Khan towards his slaves, and how these actions influenced his empire and the world at large. One of the most disturbing practices employed by Genghis Khan was the use of slaves as human shields. Accounts from history paint a grim picture of this practice, in which Genghis Khan forced his captives to walk in front of his advancing army, acting as a barrier against enemy arrows and spears. The purpose of this was to protect the main force from harm, sacrificing them in order to protect one's troops. This calculated act of cruelty was not only done for physical reasons, but also in order to instill fear and intimidate one's opponents. One example of this occurred during Genghis Khan's invasion of the Xia kingdom in 1209. Records indicate that Genghis used approximately 30,000 Chinese soldiers who had been captured as human shields, forcing them to absorb the brunt of enemy fire. During the siege of the capital, many of these unwitting pawns lost their lives, their fate being sacrificed for the conqueror's ambition. Similarly, in 1223, during his campaign against the Khwarezm Empire in Central Asia, Genghis once again resorted to this brutal tactic. Thousands of prisoners were forced to act as human shields, and some even faced a terrible fate, being tied to catapults and hurled into enemy fortifications. The extreme brutality of these actions highlights the extent of Genghis' willingness to sacrifice others in pursuit of his goals. Genghis Khan was willing to go to great lengths in pursuit of his goals. Beyond the immediate tactical considerations, Genghis' use of human shields had broader implications for the nature of warfare and the depths of human cruelty. This serves as a stark reminder of the dehumanizing effects of conflict. In times of conflict, people can be reduced to mere instruments of strategic advantage, with their lives spent in pursuit of power and conquest. One shocking act of Genghis was that he used his slaves as human shields, forcing them to endure cruel and humiliating situations. The forced labor imposed on Genghis' slaves knew no limits. They were subjected to arduous tasks such as digging canals, building roads, and carrying heavy loads, all for the benefit of Genghis' expanding empire. These tasks served not only his military ambitions, but also as a means of control and enslavement. It was a cruel reminder of their position as mere pawns at the mercy of a merciless ruler. Ophalot. Even more horrifying were the scenes of violence and bloodshed staged for Genghis Khan's amusement. Slaves were pit against each other in fierce battles or forced to fight wild animals, their lives sacrificed for the temporary diversion of their conqueror. These grotesque displays of power further dehumanized the victims, reducing them to nothing more than disposable toys in the eyes of their cruel master. The depths of Genghis Khan's depravity, perhaps most vividly demonstrated in his demand for absolute loyalty, were often achieved through acts of unspeakable horror. Slaves were compelled to commit unimaginable acts, including killing their relatives, as a twisted test of loyalty or to break their spirits. One such frightening story tells of the siege of the Khwarezmian city of Otrar in 1219, during which Genghis Khan, enraged by the murder of his envoys, sought relentless retribution. He seized the governor's son and, who was also a prisoner, ordered the young man to execute his own father before taking his son's life. This display of force served as a reminder of the consequences of disobeying the Khan's will. During the siege of Nishapur in 1221, Genghis Khan was enraged. Upon learning of the death of his son-in-law, he ordered a massacre with unprecedented cruelty. Everyone, from men to animals, was killed indiscriminately. Even his own daughter was forced to witness the slaughter, leaving the streets covered in blood. In the last act of cruelty, he forced his daughter to participate in the massacre. The exploitation of slaves by Genghis Khan has reached the realm of sexual violence. This aspect of his reign highlights the depth of his brutality. The reports detail his depravity and lack of regard for human dignity. He was infamous for his insatiable desire and practice of polygamy, which led to him having hundreds of wives and concubines. Many of these women were forcibly taken from the lands that he conquered, and his sexual predation knew no limits. Genghis Khan granted his sons and generals the right to demand women from the lands they conquered, further perpetuating a culture of dehumanization and exploitation. These women were treated as spoils of war and were not valued for their age, status, or religion. Instead, they were reduced to property that existed only for the pleasure of their ruthless owner. Khan's disregard for women's autonomy and humanity is evident in his willingness to trade them as gifts and tributes with allies. This demonstrates his lack of respect for the individuality and dignity of women under his control. Khan cemented their status as commodities that could be traded and exchanged at his discretion. His insatiable desire for sexual conquest knew no bounds, and he fathered many children from countless partners, some of whom carried on his legacy or founded their own dynasties. One of the most notable examples of Genghis Khan's familial legacy is Kublai Khan, who was born from his union with a Tangut princess and later became famous as the founder of the Yuan dynasty in China. Kublai's success further solidified Genghis' genetic imprint on history. The far-reaching consequences of Genghis' sexual exploits are best illustrated through modern genetic analysis. According to a study, approximately 0.5% of the world population, or around 16 million people, can trace their ancestry back to Genghis. This statistic serves as a sobering reminder of the impact of his actions. The lasting impact of Genghis Khan's reign of terror is not only significant in terms of the political landscape of Eurasia, but also in the genetic makeup of humanity. These are some of the most shocking examples of Genghis' cruelty towards his slaves, but there are numerous other instances of his brutality and violence. It is important to remember that Genghis was not only a ruthless tyrant but also a visionary leader who united the Mongol tribes, expanded their territories, and left a lasting legacy. While he was a complex and controversial figure, his influence on Asian and European history continues to be felt today. If you have enjoyed this video, please take the time to like it and subscribe to our channel for more informative content. We hope this video has provided you with new insights into Genghis Khan and his legacy. Until next time, thank you for watching.